Hi everybody, my name is Bárbara Marrero and welcome to Unmasked with Barbara. This is a show where I interview strong women from all walks of life in hopes to bring light in the midst of chaos. We're unmasking and talking all things beauty, body positivity, entrepreneurship, and so much more.
There's like no other option, so we don't want to think about the other option.
Yes.
It's kind of like that meme of Cardi B where it's like,
What was the reason?
I was like so pissed.
You did not fight through all that you fought through to stop here.
Subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for an incredible journey. Are you ready? Let's go.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Unmasked. Today, I am so honored and so privileged to be able to introduce two beautiful women of God by the names of Brendalin and Ivana. They're not only super inspiring, they're super amazing at what they do. They're entrepreneurs and they're also my friends. So I'm really excited to be able to dive into the conversations with them today. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Good.
Excited to be here.
Hey, thank you so much for being on the show. I believe a lot of the girls that are going to watch the show are going to be able to take a lot home with them and be inspired by your story and what you guys have to say. First, introduce yourselves.
My name is Brendalin and I am from the Dominican Republic. We both live here in Orlando and yeah, we met through Brendalin & Co., which was the first company that was created when I started doing my own thing. She was the first fashion bloggers that I actually worked with, and that's how we met. And we've just been working together since then.
My name is Ivana and I'm Puerto Rican. Not from Puerto Rico, but I'm Puerto Rican. And I actually met Brendalin. We had a mutual friend, coworker friend that told me about her. She said she had a business and was looking for fashion bloggers, and we ended up meeting that way. We worked a couple of times together, and then after a while, we ended up creating Brendalin Cora from Brendalin & Co.
That's so awesome. And I know that you are currently right now doing Brendalin & Cora full time, right?
Yes.
But you also have another talent and another side hustle that you do. Tell us about that.
So I am a makeup artist. I have so many jobs. It's like at this point, I don't even know. So I work part-time at Sephora, which is what my full-time job was before we ended up really getting into Brendalin & Cora.
Okay.
And I've since then kind of backed away from it to obviously dedicate more time to the business. But on the weekends, I still freelance pretty often. I do weddings all the time. Usually every weekend I have weddings or baby showers or anything like that that people need me for.
That's so cool, yeah. And she's actually really good, guys. Like, if you ever want to book anybody for makeup, that's your girl. That's your girl for that. So I want to talk about the brands. What is the style, the vibe, the mood behind Brendalin & Cora?
Well, honestly, when we started the company, it was more about what we liked to wear. Obviously, well, the three of us are actually wearing Brendalin.
We're all wearing Brendalin & Cora. Holler!
So as you can tell, it's very feminine yet dressy. We do bring some stuff that are a little bit more casual, so like joggers, PJs, anything from intimates, which is something that we just started doing. So it varies. It's kind of like a mix of dressy yet casual and things that you can really mix and match in your wardrobe with other things that you already have.
So cool, yeah. One of the things that I love about their boutique is that not only is it for women in business and women that want to look professional, but it's for women that love fashion and for women that literally, love a good top, a good pair of pants and like look good, but are also modest. So that's one of the things that I love the most about you guys. One thing that I wanted to ask you, we're in talks of like, right now we're in 2020. 2020 is a year of finding, that thing that sets your soul on fire and like going after it. So I want to talk about, how did you guys come about with Brendalin & Cora?
So I'm going to speak for myself. So for me, I went to school. I was a first generation student in my family. I did finance and then I went into getting my master's in business. And I worked in corporate America for a couple of years. I did consulting, I did technology, and while doing that, I realized that I was spending a lot of time committing my personal time to someone else's dream, to someone else's pocket. And it got to a point where I was like, you know what? I have a passion of doing and creating outfits with Ivana and for other people, and just being a creative person when it comes to building a company from the ground up. I might not be a makeup artist like she is. That's like her creative side stuff. But for me, it's more of like, how can you make the process better? And obviously in the day and age that we work now and that we live in, there's so many boutiques online and so many other things that you can do online, that when we started working on this, I was like, you know what? We've been getting a good traction. We've been getting a lot of loyal customers. Let's just do this. Let's run with it. Let's see what we get out of it. And honestly, the brand has not only been built by us, but by our customers. Our customers have really been the ones to say, we like this. Can you bring more of this? We actually like this. Can you bring more of this? Or they've given us ideas. They're like, hey, can you bring PJs? Or can you bring shorts? Or can you bring this?
Yeah.
So really, I would say that the brand was a combination of us, but mostly the customer, because their feedback has been what has built and gotten us to where we are now.
Yeah. Do you think fear was an obstacle when you first started?
It still is. It still is every day. Every day.
Definitely. For me, once again, I'm talking from my perspective. For me, I left a very good, high-paying job to come and do a business that is not at a level that is giving me a salary that I can comfortably live at, you know? I had to cut down, I had to move back to my parents' house. I had to sacrifice a lot of things to be able to say, you know what, I'm gonna be fully on this. And, you know, we're managing. So fear is definitely one of those. It took me a really long time to make the decision to do it full time. But the reward has been nothing but great. And I mean, I'm sure that for you, because she obviously, even though she does makeup, you know, she did leave her full time.
How is that? That's something that must be
It's scary.
challenging.
It's scary because you don't know.
Yeah.
You never know. And I've done it before where I've left my full-time job where I was basically focusing on just the makeup artist part of it. And you don't know when it's going to be slow. You don't know, you can't
measure it.
no, you don't know when your traffic is going to be there. And it's the same thing with our business. Like there are times that we'll launch something and we're like, oh, this is going to be so good. We're going to kill it. And maybe it's something that we love, but the customer isn't
audience.
as crazy about.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like every time we do a launch, we're like, let's go, let's see what happens. And there's times that we're just like, oh yeah, you know, we love all the pieces. This is gonna be a good launch. And we're like, whoa, everything sells out in 2 seconds. And we're like, okay, well, we did not expect that. So now we need to work on restocking. And every single week for us is different. Every single day is different. We literally never know what we're gonna do until we just do it. And that's kind of what we've just been doing. We just go with the flow, and as obstacles come, we sit there, we stress about it for that moment, and then we're like, all right, we have something else to stress about, so we gotta move on to the next thing. And that's what we've been doing this entire time.
How do you come up with the creativity for future, for the drops and anything in the future?
So it really varies. So before we were doing capsules that were based on colors. So we would do color schemes.
I remember that.
And those were great.
Yeah.
People loved them. And then we got into, you know, looking more at the seasons. Obviously in Florida, we have one season all year round.
Literally.
And we have like
All
2
year
days
round.
of winter.
2 days.
But a lot of our customer base is also up north. We have customers in Texas. We have customers in LA. So we had to, I guess, look at it now from a broader perspective and say, all right, well, maybe in Florida, we can't wear a coat right now, but in New York, it's still 30 degrees. So we try to bring out a mix of coats with maybe something like what you're wearing for people here or for someone who's going on a vacation. Another thing we've been doing is just, again, asking the customer. We literally, it was in 2020, like right before 2020 hit, that we did a questionnaire on Instagram, and we asked people, you know, what is it that you're shopping for right now?
Right.
Some people were like sweaters or, you know, jeans or this and that. So we brought them sweaters and we bought them jeans. So we just
listen to them.
ask,
We really do.
pay attention
That's
to
so
what the
good.
customer wants, because at the end of the day, they're the ones paying and building the brand.
Yeah.
So.
And that's so good. I'm glad that you say that you listen to your customers, because I feel like when you're starting a business and when you're starting something new, although yes, you have to be authentic to you.
100%.
You have to keep your core and your values and your Brendalin and Cora. But as far as listening to your audience and listening to your customers, I think that's something that's really important when it comes to starting a business or launching anything really. 100%. If you want it to be successful, you have to be open to wanting to understand what your audience really want. Like, what do your people need? Mm-hmm. What is your target audience and what do they want? Mm-hmm. And how can you find fulfillment in serving them in that way?
Right.
And that is the beauty of our business, I would say, because realistically speaking, anyone can sell clothes. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not doing something that's, oh my God, Albert Einstein. Like, that's not what we're doing.
True, yeah.
It's the way in which we run the business and the way in which we connect with the customer that I think has set us apart from any other boutique. Because you can walk into any boutique and be like, oh, like, I really like that dress. I'm trying on, buy it, okay, I leave. And it's like with us, we connect with the customer on a different level. The customer is part of literally, I would say, even 90% of the decisions that we make on how to run the business. Mm-hmm. So that's really kind of like where we differentiate ourselves most of the time. So
that's so good. And something I kind of wanted to dive into. So fun fact, me and Brendalin actually met. We met in a beauty pageant because that's our background. That's what we both used to do. And I kind of wanted to dive into that a little bit and ask your perspective. You know, what was the beauty pageant transition life into, you know, CEO, entrepreneurship, being your own boss? Need it?
Yes. So to be honest with you, it taught me a lot of things because not a lot of people know this, but when you're doing a pageant, it requires so much determination and discipline, whether it is to work out, whether it is to make sure you're eating what you're supposed to be eating. Yeah. You know, there were times where you're shooting at 6 o'clock in the morning and you're like, like, I just had a rough night, like, I can't get up. And makeup has to be done at this time, and all these things going on that even though I didn't pursue it, you know, as a career, I got so much out of it. And one of the biggest things that I got from it was just discipline, because we had to learn, you know, how to be on time, how to make sure you're communicating correctly. Yeah. We have to do interviews, which, you know, it's something that, I talk a lot, but talking to a camera and talking to Ivana about business is a totally different thing. So a lot came out of it. The transition into being able to run the business, I think, wasn't as tough because now we're able to do these interviews like we're doing with you now, and it's not that hard for me, at least. I don't know for you.
She's definitely like she and I are so different in so many ways. We like, our dynamic is really good, but I am not a social, like, I can get around people and talk to people, but when we go to events, she's like, all right, you ready? And I'm like, no. And she'll be like, okay, you take that side of the room, I'm taking this side of the room. And I'm like, oh. And I'm in my mind, I am having a full-blown panic attack. I'm shaking, my hands are sweating. And then she's like, go get a glass of wine. And I'm like, yeah. And after I have my glass of wine and I like join her, it works. But she'll literally be like, I'm Brendalin, what's your name? And I'm just like, no, I can't do this. I'm like, I don't even, hilarious. I end up like saying my name backwards. Like, I get so nervous.
Like
and
me.
Yeah, just like that. And it's, I definitely didn't get that, like that, how she can talk to we'll be in the elevator. And, how's your day going? And she'll just start talking to a random person and I'm like, no. I'm like, please don't ask me how I'm doing. Please don't ask me how I'm doing. So I definitely don't have that.
And she just stands there most of the time, just like, why are you, like, I can just
I'm like, you can't,
she's like, why did you
I'll be here.
But, you know.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll be back here if you need me. You handle that.
But that's so good because I feel like that works for the both of you. Exactly. And that's why I feel like that makes you guys really good business partners because you like push her to like, you know, do these things that maybe, you know, she doesn't have strength in, and vice versa. Like, I'm pretty sure you keep her like in check for a lot of things. And 100%. So, but you also do makeup and you see models and you see the industry. You're in the industry working for an agency,
right?
Or literally competing for a pageant. Not only does it does teach you great life skills, but at the same time, there's this sense of like validation
Oh, 100%.
all the time. Like you
Always.
have to be,
Yeah.
you know, like you're never good enough because there's always this, there's a stereotype, there's
Standard.
the standard.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you have to look like. This is how thin you have to be. This is how your hair has to
Yep.
be. This is, you know, how you have to wear your hair and your makeup and what you have to dress. And then, you know, it's this constant, I have to look like this. And if I'm not, then I'm not good enough.
Right.
And I'm not going to make it in life, or I suck.
Yep, and that's a good point because I naturally have very curly hair, and obviously when we were doing pageants, there's no way I was walking on stage with curly hair. No pageant manager would allow me to do that, first of all. So it got to a point where, you know, I was straightening my hair like all the time because if I had to be in an interview or if we had to do any sort of modeling thing, like my hair had to be straight, manageable, because something had to be done to my hair, you know, for a fashion show.
Yeah.
So after I got out of that, I guess, culture, I started accepting my hair a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, I do wear my hair straight and I do wear it curly. Mostly curly. Today I did straighten it, not because of the show, but it was already straight. Just wanted to clear that out there. But it does create those types of, I guess, even fears and, you know, validation
Identity
that you
issues,
need.
yeah.
Like you're just like, okay, so I need to be 5'6". I'm not 5'6", I'm 5'2".
Yeah.
Like I can't go and get, I mean, I think you can get operations to become taller.
You can get like knee extenders,
yeah,
right?
or something like that.
Isn't that what they're called?
We're not doing all of that.
We're not doing all of that.
I'm like, yeah, I can get on 4-inch heels, but at the end of the day,
Right,
that's
why?
not,
Yeah.
you know, their standard. I'm not their standard.
Right.
But I'm glad that the industry is changing
Yeah.
little by little. You know, you are seeing
Right.
shorter girls, you know, girls that do have
Yeah.
curves on the runway, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And for us, it's really important to show that in our brand as well. We have shot with you, which obviously you're 5'6", right?
5'6", yeah.
You're 5'6", you're a little bit more slender, but then we also have us, we do a lot of the photo shoots. I'm obviously not slender. I mean, I guess I am, but, and then obviously she has.
Girl, you got your curves going on.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
little curves, but we're not the standard of what everyone else would be like, oh yeah, she weighs
Right.
110 pounds. And
Which is what, like, I love because the industry, I feel like, is going into like this acceptance of all
Definitely.
different types of women. But something that I do love, and I feel like getting into the show and kind of launching this project, I've noticed how happy I am in doing something that's mine. You know, I set the standard.
Yep.
It's mine, you know, and I feel like it's the same with any business that you start on your own, because you set the vision, you set the standard, and no one can take anything away from you. No one can tell you you're not good enough. No one can tell you, you know, you need to do this, this, and this, and this. Like, it's, no, you create it and you make it what it needs to be.
100%.
So I love, you know, I love that we've been there and we were able to take the lessons out of it and be able to see the difference, because I feel like a lot of girls in the industry are currently, you know, looking at these models and they look at these Instagram, like Instagram famous models, and they look at, you know, the tans and the lips and the hair, and it's like, you know, I have to look like that. Girls are like, you know, always DMing me like, oh, like where do you do this and where do you do that, and you know, and it's almost like, why are you looking at other women's, you know, stuff on Instagram to try and replicate that? You know, you're so beautiful in your curly hair and the way that you look, and you don't have to do all this stuff. You just have to literally, you know, enhance that and be confident in it.
Right.
Because once you show that confidence in what you already have, that just shines. You know, that you literally look beautiful. Like, I've seen so many women that don't look like the standard, but literally they own the way that they are, and I'm like, wow, like, she's popping. Like, I want to know what she got, because I don't, like, I need that. I need whatever she's doing. So that's something that I just kind of like wanted to get into. And then what are your aspirations right now, like with the brand, individual, like where do you want to take it?
So you want to take that?
So it's funny because yesterday she and I had a call with, I don't know, what would you even consider?
He's like our business advisor.
Our mentor,
Yeah,
something like that. And he's super successful. Him and Brendalin have known each other for a long time. And yesterday we were talking to him just to kind of get some guidance, because like I said, every day is different and we don't really know. We don't know anything. And yesterday he made it, like we talked about it, we were talking about it even just before we started, that we were like, wow, like he made us feel so much better because he was like, all of these entrepreneurs don't know what they're doing. Yeah. None of us know what we're doing. And if any of them make you feel like they kind of got control, they don't. Like none of us know what we're doing. So just take risks and do what you got to do.
That's
and
so good.
After we talked to him, we were like, okay, so it's not just us. Like we're not the only ones.
We're not going crazy.
Because there's times that we don't know. We're like, oh, how are we gonna tackle this? Or like we don't know. So we're kind of on the verge of figuring that exact question out. Like we're trying to figure out where we want to take this, how big of a scale we want it. Do we want to be in Neiman Marcus? Do we want our own shop, or do we want to stay this little local boutique?
That's so good.
Yeah. So we're
trying to find that. Yeah, that's so good.
Because and I mean it's good that we had that conversation and that we have someone to go to and ask.
A mentor is so important.
These types of questions. So for any entrepreneur, or whether you just started or you're about to start or you're just not sure what to do, you definitely need to have someone that has experience or at least have access to someone that can say, hey, these are my thoughts. Whether they're in the industry or not, it doesn't matter, because entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship no matter whether you're in the meat district or if you're in the in clothing. So it's really important to have the mentor and someone to go to be able to ask these types of questions. But also for us, I think we've been in business for 2 years, or about to be 2 years, and we accomplished a huge goal last year, and it's like, all right, so are we trying to get to $1 million by next year or 5 million? Depending on what that is, the course of action has to change.
Right.
And I feel like now
that's so good.
Every year we're gonna have to reassess, what is the vision? Like she said, do we want to be a small local boutique where the both of us are just comfortable, or do we want to get to the masses and come up with things that are just ours, which we do as well, but do we want to do it on a bigger scale? And that is terrifying.
It's really scary. Really scary.
Terrifying, because everything that we've been doing so far has been working.
Right.
But what worked, and we were just talking about it, what worked to get you to that 6-figure, sale last year might not be the same thing that gets you to $1 million.
Right.
So
and it's like we have to think so much bigger.
Right.
If we're thinking $1 million, we can't have the mindset of 200 grand to get to it's scary.
But I think that's really important, and I think that's a lesson that should be applied in a lot of aspects. When your way of attacking a goal should always be flexible, because goals are always changing, goals are always growing.
Yes.
And as your goals grow, so does your way of thinking, and so does your mind and your creativity, and there isn't only one way of doing it. Just because one way worked, okay, good. That means a million other ways could work to get you to that other goal.
Exactly.
So I think that was a really good point. And I want to talk a little bit about how you guys work together. There's a lot of women in the industry and gentlemen that also want to start up their own business. And I want to know, what have been your struggles starting your own business together, and how have you been able to overcome them and be as successful as you are right now?
I would say that for us, just to set the tone, we were very clear from the beginning. We reached out to a lawyer and we were like, hey, we need an NDA agreement. We need a partnership agreement that says, who owns what, in case anything happens, if you were to get married or, if you decide that you don't want to do this anymore, what's going to happen to the business? So I think being upfront and clear legally and on paper is extremely important, because things change. I mean, in a year, she could get married, she could have kids, I can get married, I can have kids, and I could be like, you know what, my life has changed, I don't want to do this anymore, here you go. She might not want to do it, and then we'll have to go in to figure out how to sell the business. So being very clear, like I said, legally and on paper is extremely important. Not sure if you wanted to add.
I'll add not the legal part, but so a lot of people don't know that Brendalin and I were not friends. We didn't know each other. We knew nothing about each other. and our relationship was just the business. That's it. We would only speak about the business, and more recently is when we're actually creating a friendship. So now is like I'm always around her family. I see her family more than I see my family. I'm with them every single day. Same with her brother. I'll text her brother. If she's not home, I'm like, hey, dude, I need you to open the door. Like, we have such a good relationship now, but it didn't start like that. And I think that's something that separates us, because a lot of people take their friendships and try to form businesses out of them, and then everything gets ruined because they put their friendship on the line. And if something goes sour, not saying that like if the business were to go a separate way that me and her would hate each other, but I still think that we would, because we have
set that professional standard.
And we're also, she and I are very different, but we're very, very similar in the fact that we don't fluff around. Like if we say what we have to say, we don't take offense to it. We just say it. Like, and it's like there's nothing to be scared about. There's no, hey, we need to do this, and it's never a question of like, oh, you were being rude. Like, no, we're just so upfront, and we're so blunt, and we're both like that. And we're also both not sensitive. So if she says something that, I don't know, annoys me, I'll just be like, whatever, and we'll move along. Or if I say something that irritates her, we get over it and we move on, and that's it. And
we'll talk about it, be like, hey, this, that, figure it out.
Yeah.
And we're good.
No, that's so good. And then, so what would you say are top 3 things that you feel you could have done better starting off the business?
I think I'm going to talk back to when Brendalin and Co. started, because I had no idea how to do taxes. And please, if you're starting a business, get yourself an accountant, because it is crucial. I mean, you can Google how to open an LLC. It's pretty straightforward. You can call the Department of Revenue, get all your information. But when it comes to taxes, that's just a whole nother, unless you've worked in tax or accounting, you need to have someone that knows what they are doing. So for us, and even after we joined together, it was the same thing. Like, we needed an accountant. That was one of our biggest struggles. And then also the legal part. We didn't have someone to be like, oh, this is what you guys should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. So after we reached out to our guy, who's our mentor, he was like, you guys need to go talk to a lawyer and make sure you set your things straight. So if we would have done that before, I mean, it didn't change much, but if we would have done it earlier, it might have, set us
definitely
up,
a learning lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
That's so good.
So I would say those 2. I don't know if you have a third one.
So I feel like she pretty much answered that, just because we're constantly learning new things, and something that we start doing next week could be something that we could have done better from the beginning. And it's like we're just rolling with the punches, and as things come in that we want to change, we change them right then. So I feel like she kind of got that. That part.
No, and please tell us where we can find you on social media. I want all the viewers to be able to find you, to buy from you, and go online and literally get all their stuff. They're super cute.
Yeah, so on Instagram, it's Brendalin and Cora. Our business page is, or her website is www.brendalinandcora.com. And where else are we? Facebook, again, Brendalin and Cora.
Pinterest.
Brendalin and Cora.
We're Brendalin and Cora everywhere.
Everywhere. And the and is A-N-D. So
Awesome. Well, thank you ladies so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you.
So much for having us. Thank you.